Yo, what up? Coming to you live. Not necessarily in prime time, but pretty close to it. I mean, it is almost 7. I do got to get out of here, though, as soon as possible. I'm kidding. We're going to go through every single game, and I'm going to be late for basketball today. We're just going to have to deal with that, you know what I mean? Sound check, we're good on that one. All right. Gotta check, gotta do social media stuff. Your boy just been inundated with people talking, like, just endless messages from people today, and it's like super annoying. Like legitimately, just sometimes you feel like everybody's trying to hit you up all at the same time today. Basically what it's been like for me. Like, I legitimately turned my phone face down and I was just like, don't even look at it. For the last couple days, I've been trying to watch every single NFL game. Oh, look at that. Well, all right, this is from my own personal account. I thought I figured out how to get thought I started populating in people's feeds and stuff like that, but whatever. Audio's there. Hold on, let me check and make sure there's a microphone on one of these. Making sure. All right, cool. Got one there. And, of course, got one on what's poppin'. Man, this shirt cannot make me look any worse than I already do. I got to fix that real quick because some of this stuff is going on TikTok. So, yo, man, that's not how I look when I sit down. This shirt is like a weird fit. It's a Nike shirt, so you shouldn't be surprised by that. If there was ever a brand that I feel like is personally operating against my success, I would say it's Nike. But their shit is, I get all their stuff on discount on a pretty consistent basis, so. Which begs the question of how successful Nike actually is. Anyway, we're good here. Let me open the Twitch dashboard so I can communicate with people. I don't know if I'm gonna tweet this one out. We got two new followers, by the way. Shout out. Let's see. Man, I'm trying to figure out what's going down. All right, bitrate's cool. Oh, damn. We already got somebody hopped in the chat and everything. Thoughts on the Lions-Eagles game. So, I got a couple of things to get to before I start just breaking down pure games. Trust me, it'll be worth it. But Lions-Eagles was fun. My biggest gripe is definitely... I like the fact that Nick Sirianni has clearly made adjustments in comparison to what he did last season. If you don't recall, he was a rookie head coach who, for almost an inexplicable reason, seemed like he was trying to set up Jalen Hurts for failure in the sense that he refused to let anyone refused to do anything close to running the football relatively in a game. I think the first 6 games, or I think they had a week 7 bye, because after they came back from the bye week is when they switched to actually running the ball effectively, or just trying to run the ball in general. But I mean, this is a drastic change, from day to night. You have to also take into a factor, and this is something that was universal, the number of starters that sat during preseason has to be at an all-time high in the league, and that weighs heavy on that has heavy influence on what kind of football you're going to see on a regular basis. Same thing with the Raiders, man. Yeah, man, that's one of those things. That's what he I had a tweet blow up and I didn't even know about it. But yeah, man, I really did enjoy watching that game, mainly because I have Miles Sanders and everybody laughs at me because I drafted Miles Sanders, and I was like, see, the benefit of watching every single game in the NFL is you see these players who aren't like the premier, the top of the top. Oh, and of course, Alex Derkline Yeah, so that was my biggest deal with the Eagles, right? Like they very similar. The Eagles and the Ravens almost played a very similar Week 1 game in the sense that the Ravens actually look god awful outside of like 7 plays, right? Outside of like big plays that got up and down the field, you know what they really look good at? They look really good at running the ball up and down the field. Jalen Hurts looked good when he got loose. Miles Sanders looked good when he got loose. Boston Scott, the touchdown vulture of my absolute nightmares, Boston Scott, really legitimately all look good. And that makes the most sense because passing and stuff like that takes timing to get. The passing and timing are super difficult to obtain when you're going up against people who are going 50% speed or 50% pace. But yeah, no, hold on. Sorry, I was about to go tweet about my show. Yeah, oh wow, yeah, I had a tweet that got like 100 something likes. It's really weird. Yeah. Anyway, sometimes I wonder. But yeah, Alex Decline, thanks for hopping in the show, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, we're gonna talk about every single game. What was your take on the game? Since you're asking me, man. The Eagles, and I think this is something to be said about the Lions too. The Lions are gonna be that team, for whatever reason, whether it be the motivation of Dan Campbell or be a combination of the actual mentality developing that they have a chance to win every single game. There was, like, based off what happened in the first half of that game, mentally, the Lions should not have like kept competing at the high level that they did. And we're also talking about a defense that is still developing, right? Like they just traded for CD Deuce like a couple of weeks ago, so he's still figuring stuff out. And if there's one thing that people are going to be able to kill in the first couple of weeks of the NFL season is people's zone coverage, especially ones like quarters where corners and DBs or corners and safeties, they had a lot of corners and safeties have to cover from like 10 yards up or like 20 yards up when there's multiple people in the same zone trying to piece together who you're actually going to run over and defend is what creates openings. That's what happened to Jalen Ramsey on Thursday Night Football versus the Buffalo Bills, right? Like he was running with Stephon Diggs, but he had to hesitate because somebody ran an underneath route that went into part of his zone, and he was trying to figure out which of the two receivers in his area that he was supposed to cover. Yeah, no, the Lions, my thing about the Lions this year, man, and obviously we're all, the one thing that I think is safe to say is that we're all going to be in a position this upcoming season, and I wonder how long this lasts, right? The glitz and glamour of Hard Knocks is something that changes people's perspective on a team, right? Because that's why the NFL makes so much money, because their objective is to not just show you athletes doing amazing things, but have you have like some kind of connection with those athletes, and whether it be like what college they went to or what high school or what town that they're from and all that kind of stuff like that, or telling you their backstory is something that connects you to those people. And so a lot of times when Hard Knocks, which is a deep dive on a team on a regular basis, and they're showing you the highlights and the lowlights throughout the course of the season, and you're getting to know the coaches, and for the most part, like, normal people are normal people. Like, there's not too many completely off-kilter guys that are in the NFL that, or if they are off-kilter, they know not to, or they know how to not reveal it to, like, the cameras or to social media. And a lot of these guys are going to be likable because they've been around and had to deal with a ton of social interaction for a lot of their life, and that endears them to a certain group of people, right? And it makes you think that they're capable of great things, because Hard Knocks makes NFL training camp look like it is a goddamn movie where you are going through the flames of hell, and when you come out the other side, you're going to become Super Bowl champion, when more often than not, Hard Knocks is just highlighting a team that's going to get fucking smoked throughout the course of the regular season. The Detroit Lions were a team that was clearly on the up and up last season. They were one of the few teams that you didn't feel that their record reflected what they were fully capable of, and they keep getting better because they keep getting higher draft picks, right? And depending upon what happens this season, they may be in a spot where they feel like they're comfortable enough to draft Jared Goff's replacement, if that turns out to be the case. We'll see. Based off of what, we're supposed to be doing a show here. We're supposed to be doing a podcast here. And I'm just jumping ahead. Anyway, deeper conversation about what the NFC North looked like in week 1 and how we all fall for the same trick every single time is important. I still cannot believe, and this is not even about like me getting a bunch of likes on a tweet. This is about, I didn't get a single notification about the tweet that blew up. Like, I didn't get a single notification where it was like, hey, somebody you know liked this tweet that you posted. I got quote tweeted by someone, and it still didn't show up. Anyway, that's so weird. Twitter's weird, bro. Anyway, follow me on Twitter, FB_playbook. But yeah, Alex Klein, thanks for hopping in the chat, man. We're about to get the show started here in a couple seconds, man, and actually talk about some football. But every time I click on Twitter, something highly distracting pops up on my feed because my feed is like all sports. So I get distracted by, oh, that's cool. Like, even if it's a sport that I didn't watch. Sometimes like plays come across, and sometimes plays come across my feed and I get distracted by it. Sometimes stupid stuff, but yeah. But DeAndre Swift, looking pretty good, man. Like, if there's one thing that the Lions got going for him, it is a ton of very talented young players. I respect that. I like it a lot, actually. Like offensive players, and people are always gonna attach to your team if you got players who they think can give them some fantasy points. But objectively, I very much do like the way they operate. Hold on, damn, dude, I just need to copy and paste this tweet, like, straight up. I just need to find. Oh my god. Why are you not showing me a tweet that I know I tweeted out? Why are you not showing me a post on my Facebook that I know I posted? Dude, Facebook, Instagram. Guys, I don't need you trying to maximize my feed. I need you to post the shit. I need you to show me the shit that I fucking clicked. Yo, bro. What? Oh, man. Anyway. We're just going to do this. Yeah, PPR is clutch, man. I play in a league that there's too many people that are like staunchly against PPR, and I have no idea why. I'm not even going to waste my time trying to convince the people who have like made a choice that they don't want to do PPR. I find it weird, but it won't matter. Your boy's going to be back-to-back champs. It's all good. It's all good, baby. We need to get this show started because I got shit to do. So yeah, you're a Lions fan. What's up with that? By the way, I'll take this opportunity to point it out now. So there's a guy named Anzalone for the Lions. He's a linebacker, used to play for the Saints. And I distinctly know him, not because I'm a linebacker guy, as most of you guys who listen to this podcast know. Bobby Wagner's my favorite football player. I hyper focus on linebackers because I think they're like it's like the most difficult position to play in the NFL. Yeah, because you have to defend, like you have to interact with every single type of offensive player in any way, shape, or form to be a successful one or be deemed a good one in some way, shape, or form. But for the most part, my thing is that so Anzalone, in my brain, every time I see the back of his jersey, it looks like it says Anal Zone. That's all I can really say. I don't have any. I don't know if it's dyslexia or something, but it looks like Anal Zone to me. Yeah, I can't. I ain't got nothing for you. God damn it, dude. Oh, by the way, Alex Klein. I have to ask, man, how'd you find the stream? I will point this out. The last two streams I've had, 2 people have subscribed to the show. So maybe somebody's out there helping your boy out. Somebody's out there, supporting your boy in a secret way that I don't know about. But I appreciate it, whoever that is. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Trying to avoid having to do a ton of work, so I'm copying and pasting something real quick. Don't forget, if you ever want to catch replays of the show, you can on YouTube. And also, we're about to start the podcast, so this little intro part where I utilize it. Wait, what? a site called nobody.live. What's going on here? Alex Decline, thanks for signing up to be a broke boy. What? This is so wild. What does it do? Is this like a I gotta know. I gotta know what it does. I really do. I think we all need to know what it does. Obviously there's like a Reddit account that kind of has like a similar name called like Nobody Awake, where it's like it's just people all over the world infinitely posting anybody up, and then you can like post like YouTube links and all that kind of stuff to like stream and everything. But maybe it's that. Hey, let's go. Show streams with no viewers. That's me constantly. Your boy trying to make it. I'm trying to make it out here. Anyway, hey, let's get the show started. Let's take it from the top, shall we? Shout out to Alex Decline for signing up to be a broke boy. Even, broke boy is non-gendered, in case people were wondering. Let's get it going. Going live in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, I'm Ashton Gene Lewis, and you're listening to the one and the only Broke Boy Sports Podcast. We got a lot of stuff to talk about and not very much time to do it. Your boy has pickup basketball today. You know that on the Wednesdays that's going down. But I finally come out of the lab. I'm out of the dungeon, and I have finished watching every single game from week 1 of the NFL season, which means obviously, for me to feel better about myself after talking to a microphone and talk to people, we did get a new follower on Twitch before the show even started on the podcast. Shout out to Alex Decline, and apparently the website Nobody Live, where they just show people streams that has nobody on it. I appreciate that. But we got the nuke is back in case we got to knock off some of the rust here for this show, because if you were following the show all of last year, which most of you were retroactively, but if you were following the show last year, what really goes down on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, depending upon how long it takes me to watch all the games, what really goes down is that we break down every single thing. We only talk about the NFL on these episodes, and we also have a couple of different topics, a couple of different segments. One is called Streaks, Peaks, and Ditches. That one is back. I'm sure everybody's really pumped about that, where we talk about something that's streaking in the NFL. We talk about a ditch, which is pretty low, and then somebody's peak. A peak is an individual performance that's doing really well. We have the nuke. This is specifically a fantasy award, quote unquote, award that I give out every single week. It will not be a quarterback unless a quarterback does something absolutely absurd, which Patrick Mahomes did something pretty crazy, but we got somebody who did something just a little bit crazier. We got somebody who did something a little bit crazier. And then, of course, new to the show this season, for this upcoming season, every single game is going to be split into 4 different categories. Those categories are going to be 1, snooze fest, where we talk about, the most boring games, get those out of the way first, and then we go to the oh my segment, where we talk about all the games that have wins and losses that mean something of significance or could set a team up to spiral, things that are not necessarily about how the game was played, but was more about what it means retroactively after the game is over. And we have the Heartbreakers category, where this is where all the sudden death and like really close games went down, and all the games that were crazy close that came down to like one play here or there that resulted in a team losing that probably was ahead, or a team that was behind and made an epic comeback, which are the same thing, but phrased differently. And then the last segment is the This Is What We're Here For segment, where we talk about the games that were the most exciting, not that were outside of the really clutch finishes, because sometimes, and I think we can all attest to this, there was one game in particular that I felt like really epitomized this one, and it was the Chargers-Raiders game. Sometimes you just want to see cool people do cool things, and that's what that whole category is about. But before we get to those 4 categories, we got something we need to talk about. We need to have a conversation here real quick. We need to have a conversation about the deadliest player in all of fantasy this past week for week 1, and we got a good one. We're starting off hot here, and you guys know that I hate to sit here and try and pat quarterbacks on the back, because The league is already skewed towards offense enough. And then on top of that, all scoring in fantasy is typically skewed towards offenses as well. So we're going to hit you with this. This is the nuke for week 1 of the NFL season. It is, as you can see, we got some medical documents proving why this squad is who they are. It is the Steelers defense for week 1 for the nuke. And for a flurry of reasons, they have they have the Black Air Force One in them. You know what I mean? They got that dog in them, which, by the way, can confirm as a black person, really tired of everybody else saying dog. Please stop saying people got that dog in them. Find something else to say. It is not cool anymore. But the nuke for week 1 goes out to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for the following reasons. I wish I had like a really dramatic scroll, like I'm a crier for the royal family, which, you know, whatever. Anyway, the nuke, and this is the reasons why. 1 touchdown. It's usually a great sign when your defense scores a touchdown. There's actually a good chunk of defensive touchdowns this week, a little bit higher than usual. But 1 touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers via a guy who, by the way, after week 1, the all-pro first-team safety spot has been taken. It's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick is the first-team all-pro safety for the year of 2022-2023 season. So just write that in right now. Just print it out, because I don't think I've ever seen a safety like really impact the game at such a crazy high level like Minkah did versus the Bengals. We'll talk about that later. But we got 1 touchdown from Minkah Fitzpatrick. We got 1 fumble recovery. We got 4 interceptions, 7 sacks, 3 of those, by the way, from Alex Highsmith. Shout out to him. Only recorded 4 third down conversions. Out of the 15 third down situations that the Bengals faced, 4 of them were converted versus the Steelers defense. And by the way, one last reason why they're the nuke: 146 pairs of Black Air Force One. Shout out to Mike Tomlin coming up right out the gate with some absolute fire story to talk about for this season. If you didn't hear the story, Mike Tomlin, in a very, very wise manner, bestowed upon his defense one of the most powerful tools and weapons in the grand scheme of this delicate universe that we exist upon. And it is Black Air Force Ones, because there is no energy in the world like Black Air Force energy. And the Steelers put it on display, baby, because guess what? They did all but fucking carry they did all but carry Mitchell Trubisky across that goddamn goal line on Sunday. Anyway, moving on to our next category, we got streaks and peaks, baby. I think we got 5 this week. Hold on. Let's see. Here we go. So we'll start with number 5. Peak. DeAndre Carter had 3 touchdowns in the last 4 seasons that he's played in the NFL, all combined together. And in one drive with the LA Chargers versus the Raiders, he got 1 touchdown and 64 yards, which puts him on pace to having a career year. And you love to see it for a guy who's been grinding for that long. Also, don't forget the reason that DeAndre Carter is out there is because Keenan Allen hurt his hamstring, and the Chargers play on Thursday Night Football. That won't be a problem. That won't be something that comes up later at all. Number 4, a ditch. The Colts tie versus the Houston Texans continues their season opener non-winning, because we can't say losing streak anymore because there's a tie mixed in there, but non-winning streak for 9 years. The Colts have lost or tied their season opener for almost a decade. Yeah. Anyway, number 3 is the streak. The Browns win their season opener for the first time in 18 years. Crazy. Crazy. It also hurt me personally because they said like 2004. And I was like, oh man, that's like 7 years ago. Because I was like in 8th grade in 2004. And that was apparently a very long time ago. 0. Let's go. Number 2 for streaks and peaks. It's a streak. And it's Josh Allen having the best season opener in Buffalo Bills history. If you didn't see it afterwards, the Bills PR department literally just flooded Twitter. By the way, their PR account, which, by the way, they do a pretty good job of making it available, because some teams have like a private PR account on Twitter. Anyway, Josh Allen's streak, he has the best season opener in Bills history for a quarterback. I think it's completion percentage, touchdowns thrown, and rushing yards as well. So absolutely insane. And number 1 for streaks, peaks, and ditches. You know I had to do it. Oh, ooh, little drama there. You know I had to do it. Ditches. It was a ditch. The Cowboys were the only team in the NFL that did not score a touchdown in week 1 of the NFL season. Anyway, as a Houston Texans fan, a guy who lives in Houston, I had to do it. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry at all. Because, it's their year, guys. You guys know that. It's their year. Oh, man. Anyway, let's talk about some football. So we got a couple of games. Well, we got every single game to talk about because everybody played in week 1, which, by the way, I will never get over how hard the first, couple weeks of the season are, or the first, 2 months of the season before the first bye week appears. And I kid you not. I may hate that bye week for fantasy, but I love it as a person who has to watch every single game to be able to talk about it on this podcast. Oh, boy. Anyway, let's talk about it. Let's go to the Snooze Fest category for our NFL breakdowns this week. We'll start with the Ravens versus the Jets. We're going to start with Bears-Niners. So, Bears-Niners, if you didn't see it, I don't know how you didn't. Truly, some of the most iconic NFL photos were taken that day because it was first of all, leading up to it, we were told, and this is my experience, I'm just going to tell you from the perspective that I saw it. So, I'm on Twitter like I am before kickoff every single day because I like to look at the inactives and all that kind of stuff like that in case there's any big names that I pay attention to that are on the inactives for each individual team in the 1 o'clock time slot. But I'm scrolling through. I have a Twitter list of NFL reporters, and a couple of them are tweeting about the conditions of the field at Soldier Field, which, by the way, not something that's out of the ordinary. Soldier Field is historically one of the worst fields in all of the NFL, and it was on full display. By the way, put Soldier Field on IR. Put Soldier Field on IR for the Chicago Bears this season. If you don't know, Soldier Field has a long legacy. One, it's natural grass, and then because of the weather that exists within Chicago, throughout the course of an NFL season, it gets destroyed and so by the time week now 17 rolls around, it's basically a mud pit out there, and towards the end of the season, they allow Illinois high school teams to play on their field, and I think there's a college team that plays on it too. I don't know if it's DePaul or whatever, but there's a college team that plays on Soldier Field. So this field is just constantly being beaten up and destroyed. And I can tell you right now, week 1, it's already on IR, baby, because there was the equivalent of an Illinois monsoon. As a Houston guy, it takes a lot of rain for you to get really concerned about it. But when you're talking about Illinois, a city that's not necessarily, or Chicago, a city that's not designed to drain out massive stores of water and all that kind of jazz like that, it is hands down super concerning, especially when you're dealing with, as a San Francisco 49er, a guy coming from California, and I know they're from all over the place, but nonetheless, they've been practicing in pretty dope weather throughout the course of training camp in the summer and everything like that. But the 49ers show up, they got the field, they're trying to work around it. They had the field covered up with the tarp. There was people who said that people stuck their hand underneath the tarp and their hand came out dry so that the field was going to be fine. They pulled the tarp off. Then the rain starts again when they pull the tarp off. Then the 49ers had to come out and warm up, and there's videos of 49ers wide receivers doing gigantic running strides, very jokingly doing giant running strides to create water, to create splashing effect, which is really funny because we're talking about millionaires just splashing around playing in water, and they're grown men too, so it's really funny because at the end of the day, it's just guys being dudes, people being fun, people living their best life, even though if you've ever played a sport that's outdoors, there's nothing worse than the feeling of wet socks and wet cleats on the interior of, or wet cleats and then being sloshing around in it. Oh, and also nothing makes you feel more uncomfortable than playing in a very wet environment where you have to make cutting motions constantly. So, and by the way, I'll get there. Don't worry about it, 49ers fans. But yeah, the Bears played the 49ers. The rain, it rained heavily before the game that affected some of the field because you could see in the early portion highlights of the game, there was a ton of water splashing around and it kind of lingered on the field as well. They even pulled out the squeegees, which is the true move of desperation, getting the Giants, the man-sized squeegees out there and pushing it across the field and everything like that. They tried to do it. They really did. And yeah, not so much. Anyway, so Trey Lance's first week 1 start of his NFL career, not off to a hot start. Final score in this one was 19-10. And I will point this out: the young quarterback at the beginning of this game that was really struggling was Justin Fields. He throws an interception that seems like it's going to basically define this entire game, and then comes out in the second half and is lights out, man. Like the new offense that Eberflus is executing and utilizing with Justin Fields' ability seems to actually take advantage of the fact that Justin Fields doesn't necessarily need a script for every single thing that happens while he's on the field. Same thing with offensive linemen. Same thing, avoiding the fact that the offensive line has really been struggling the last couple of years. But the fact of the matter is like they made the best out of a situation, because the 19-10 win over the San Francisco 49ers, who very much look like they are a top 5 defense again, based off of the interception that they got versus Justin Fields, and then on top of that, the pressure that they were able to generate on a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields was absolutely insane. They had the run game really turn up for him. The Bears did. Khalil Butler had a massive run, and speaking of run game, speaking of wet fields as well, Elijah Mitchell continuing the long-standing legacy of the starting 49ers running back of going out with some sort of knee and / ankle injury that is going to probably hamper him for the rest of this season, and then thus throwing Jeff Wilson Jr., now a rookie running back, into the starting spotlight for everybody out there. So I'm sure that was a ton of fun. Anyway, to continue one of, like I said before, one of the longest standing legacies that exist within the NFL as of right now. Ask Raheem Mostert, who now plays for the Miami Dolphins. That being said, the Bears grind out a win, man, and it seemed like the rain helped them play a style of game that they're probably not going to be able to play for the rest of the season, but nonetheless, the 49ers went out there and were only able to muster 10 points, and a lot of that is, of course, due to the limitations that are set upon you when the ball is wet constantly, when the ball is literally being spiked out or being hiked out of a puddle of water into your hands. We saw the situation where the Bears got flagged for trying to dry the spot on the ground with towels where the ball was going to land. And I think, by the way, the most technical of the technicality rules, off the top of my head, that is illegal because it is the utilization of a towel that is not regulation size. So if you ever look at the NFL rule books, which I'm sure everybody who's listening to this podcast has done, if you ever listen to the NFL rulebooks, the reason that the towels, and if you know anything about football players, they will put any size towel in their waistband and play with it, especially a wide receiver, because it makes them look cool when they're running fast enough, right? But they have regulation size NFL towels that are allowed, and that's why they kind of look like a little napkin, essentially, in the back pocket or the waistband of an NFL player when they put it in their waist and utilize it throughout the course of a game. It has to be a certain size. The NFL cuts towels to that size to put in your waistband so that you can use for it, and they took out onto the field a towel that was not regulation size for a live play and affected the field of play. So in the most technical of technical rules and the epitome of stupidity, literally one of those situations where everybody's having a bad time, but for some reason the person having a bad time, just like everybody else, wanted to somehow make it worse by calling that penalty. They did. The Bears win 19-10. Moving on, another boring game that I watched. So, let me put it... Okay, Ravens-Jets is the game I'm talking about. Let me put it like this for you. The Jets' first pass play of the season was called for intentional grounding because Joe Flacco was in the middle of being sacked trying to throw the ball away. That was the first one. It was not the first play of the season. The first play of the Jets season actually went for I think 11 yards. And it was a really nice run by Michael Carter, believe it or not. Breece Hall looked kind of, I will say this, rookie running backs, not a great week one. And we'll talk about that when we get to the Houston Texans. Anyway, so yeah, that was the first pass play of the season for the Jets. Don't worry, it gets worse. That was pretty much the theme running throughout this game. It was Joe Flacco running. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Joe Flacco, not known for his mobility. It was something that was brought up multiple times very kindly in the course of the NFL broadcast about how old Joe Flacco is and how that's not great when you're trying to compete against younger guys who are bigger, faster, and stronger than you. The Ravens' pressure was relentless, and the Jets struggled, as they did last season, to string together two good things at one time. Two good plays at one time. The Jets' defense was on point, though. I felt like some of that was due to the fact that the Ravens had a lot of players who didn't a lot of starters who didn't play in the preseason. Some of them because of injury, others because of prevention of injury. That has a factor to do with it, and of course that affects the timing on pass plays and everything like that. But for the most part, it was a pretty boring game. It was probably the number one snooze fest game of all of week one. One, because nobody has real interest in the Jets. The Jets didn't even sell out their season opener, right? The Ravens are a team that everybody knew was better than the Jets to start off the season. And then the thing that everybody thought was going to happen happened, and it wasn't even really close. It was 24-7 or 24-10 was the final score. They scored that last touchdown in the third quarter. But for the most part, the Ravens defense really took care of business out here. The Jets defense not looking too bad. Sauce Gardner only got caught off guard like a couple of times. But for the most part, what really happened was the Ravens had a bunch of like below average plays that got them yards. And then they hit home runs with like huge plays. Like every single touchdown they scored was over. And I'm trying to let me make sure I got this right. Every single touchdown that the Ravens scored was like 40 yards plus. They were all like massive touchdown plays. So, so they had the 24-yard field goal from Justin Tucker. They had a 25-yard touchdown catch from Devin Duvernay. He had 2 touchdowns, by the way. He had a 17-yard one. There was a 55-yard catch from Rashad Bateman. So most of them were pretty big plays. I would say the only big time play in that situation was, of course, the 17-yard throw. 25 yards is a big play by most people's metric, especially the metric is being like 20 yards plus is a big play. But nonetheless, yeah, I felt like that's what kind of went down in that game, and it was not fun for me to watch. That's why I didn't watch it initially, and it was tough for me to rewatch it afterwards. But it was cool it's always cool to see defenses ball out of control, especially since Justin Houston, I think, got 2 sacks in the course of this game, and it's always good to see Justin Houston doing well. Even when he was with the Colts, I rooted for him. He has like the wildest story about how his family like survived their house burning down or something like that. Like he survived his house burning down. I remember listening to it on the way to practice one Saturday morning, and I thought it was just going to be some casual interview with Justin Houston, and it turned out to be this absolutely horrifying story about how most of his family almost died one time. So it's pretty wild. That's snooze fest number 1, as you can hear it in my voice. Dolphins, Patriots, another snooze fest. Most of this due to the fact that the Patriots apparently forgot how to play football and are still looking for an offensive coordinator. Like legitimately not in the sense of like trying to hire one. They probably spent so much time in this game trying to figure out who was calling plays. It was pretty difficult to actually be successful on offense, and it showed. Almost in every single facet of this game, the Patriots really struggled. Tua had a couple of really big-time plays that paid off. He also had a couple of plays where he was just kind of throwing that thing up to see what Tyreek Hill could do. But don't worry, that it made for a really good photo. I saw it afterwards. It was in my Instagram story. If you guys don't know, on my Instagram at the Ashton Forever, I utilize photos. I have a burner account. I guess is the best way to start off explaining it. I have a burner account on Instagram where I follow like every pro athlete that I possibly can, every professional photographer that I possibly can, and then I look at all the cool photos. I send it to my personal account at the Ashton Forever, and then I put it in my Instagram story for like Monday or Tuesday morning kind of deal. I think I'm gonna start doing because it all depends on when the games are finished, right? So a lot of athletes, not much of a shocker, a lot of athletes get their shit up, their photos up like immediately, and I think it's because they got people helping them behind the scenes for sure. And then on top of that, they get them up pretty quick. Plus, they get the photo of them walking into the facility, put that together. They get like 2 action photos or a video of them making a crazy play, put it all together, put it on an Instagram post, get all the likes, get the thousands of likes or whatever. That's just the go-to method for what to do on Instagram. I take those photos because I'm a big fan of sports photography. I find it truly amazing how good a lot of these photographers are. Even the amateur level ones that only work with colleges. Yeah, I follow people who like shoot colleges and stuff like that because there's some truly talented people. It's not like age is not a factor in determining how good you can be in terms of like media creation, which is pretty dope. But nonetheless, a lot of the NFL photographers are so good. They're so ridiculously good. So good that they got a photo of a jump ball that Tyreek Hill had versus a defensive back. I think it was Jalen Green, the Green Goblin, whose hair is not as green I don't know if he's going to re-dye it or not. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Dolphins Patriots. This didn't make the oh my category because, quite frankly, the Dolphins are now on a 4-game win streak versus the Patriots in the last 2 years. And it was also in Miami, which is the ultimate home field advantage with the Like, if there was ever a place that you could beat probably the ultimate form of the Tom Brady Patriots, just be like, I'll play you in Hard Rock Stadium. And you have like a legit shot. But yeah, the Dolphins look decent. They're still working on getting some stuff together. Their run game looked decent for the most part. A lot of it was to the outside. I don't know if that was by design or like choices by running backs. Chase Edmonds, good to see that he's back and getting opportunities and stuff like that. But yeah, Patriots Dolphins, not very fun to watch unless you were like really interested in the overall storyline. Unless you want to be the person who's there when Tua potentially gets pulled in the middle of a game for the struggles that might happen. Which begs the question of, what do you have against left-handed people? Prejudice. Haters. Moving on to the oh my category. Shout out to the legend. Bills, Rams, 31-10. We all saw this. It was very bad. It's usually a bad day for your offense when the defensive tackles for the team that you're playing against have 2 sacks and an interception. I think that pretty much summed it up. And then I also mentioned in Streaks and Peaks about how Josh Allen just so happened to have the greatest opening game for a Bills quarterback in the history of the team. So yeah, that's a thing. But basically, the Bills defense was on point. The Rams defense was on point as well. There were multiple generated turnovers off amazing plays that were made. But the fact of the matter is that Josh Allen is doing Josh Allen might be the ultimate dual threat quarterback in the NFL right now, and we've talked about this before on the show about how the powers seem to rotate between all of the dual threats between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. On a good day, they're all kind of fighting both ends of the spectrum where it's like, I'm a full-on runner over here, I'm a really good precision accuracy pocket present quarterback over here, and they're all kind of like fighting to be right down the middle on the scale. Well, on Thursday Night Football, for week 1 of the season, the Bills quarterback Josh Allen right down the middle. Matthew Stafford looked like a guy who, 1, had not taken a single snap in the course of the preseason because he had not, and then 2, looked like a dude that his elbow might be hurting a little bit because he had surgery on it earlier this year. Anyway, that was pretty much it, man. I don't take too much from this one. I know the Super Bowl hangover looks like it's affecting both teams, by the way, based off what happened in week 1. But nonetheless, the Rams, they got to bounce back hard. But, I mean, their schedule is going to be tough regardless. Anyway, if you want to, we're going to talk about Thursday Night Football tomorrow. And then I'm also going to do like a full weekend preview on the Friday episode of the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. Anyway, moving on. The oh my category. Oh my. I got to get better at that. Vikings-Packers. Vikings win 23-7. Justin Jefferson absolutely eviscerates the Packers secondary. And Aaron Rodgers can't find a person to complete a pass to. So that was pretty much what defined that entire game. Oh, by the way, not only Zadarius Smith, Danielle Hunter made for each other. Truly the most dynamic of duos. Also, Danielle Hunter has some crazy-ass photo of him doing a flying kick, and he looks like that iconic Bruce Lee photo, and the only thing that's really in the way is the fact that Zadarius Smith is like standing right next to him. One day there's going to come a time where somebody's going to get that photo of a massive like 6'5" defensive end fully airborne with both of his legs pointing in the same direction, looking dope as fuck, and his teammates won't be trying to mob him while he's celebrating, and we'll be able to hang that up in the Louvre. I pray that day comes soon for all of us, personally. It was sick. It's in my Instagram story. Go check it out. It might be a contender for Image of the Week, which I'm going to do on my TikTok at the Ashton Forever, which of course I'll post to all the other social media accounts as well. But yeah, Vikings 23-7. Cole's Cash. By the way, me and the group chat decided that Kirk Cousins will now be called Cole's Cash because of that meme that was going around about how first of all, Kirk Cousins' post-game interview drip was, a Sahara. He wore a shirt that I could mentally picture what he was wearing below the podium. And it was a black leather belt holding up a pair of acid wash jorts. And loose fitting, no holes in them to make them look cool, acid washed jorts with Birkenstocks with socks on. Because obviously you need that get up, you need that gear when you're cutting the front lawn. You need that gear for when your kid, who's the main protagonist of a movie in the 90s, comes riding his bike around the corner, dumps his bike on the front yard, and runs inside to show his mom something that is going to be a massive part of the plot for the movie that you are unwittingly a part of. Shout out to Kirk Cousins, because if there's ever one person that's truly wholeheartedly themselves at all times in the NFL, it is Kirk Cousins. But yeah, 23-7, a guy wearing a brown plaid short sleeve dress shirt just dismantled a team led by the NFL MVP. Gotta love the NFL. Oh my category here. Chiefs 44, Cardinals 21. It's oh my because guess what? The Cardinals might not even be able to do that thing where the first half of the season for them goes really well and the second half goes really badly, because it looks like it may just be the whole season goes very badly. There's a photo of Patrick Mahomes dapping up Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know if you guys know this, but many, many moons ago, Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach of Texas Tech and Patrick Mahomes was his quarterback. So, damn, that's kind of messed up. I'm not gonna lie. Does Andy Reid get to absorb sexiness from Cliff Kingsbury? Like, every time you beat him, he gets just like a little bit less sexy, right? That's how that works. Andy Reid, another Black Air Force One warrior. If you guys don't know that story, look it up. Andy Reid, when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, Andy Reid was wearing like these custom black Air Force Ones from Nike, and they are now in the NFL Hall of Fame. Like, they're in Canton, Ohio, and they're autographed by Andy Reid. The true power. They are the one shoe to rule them all. Anyway, I don't know if you guys know this or not. The Chiefs are really good at playing football, and Patrick Mahomes has essentially done a career's worth of 4+ touchdown games in the span of like 4 years. No big deal. All new wide receivers except like Mecole Hardman. Like, Byron Pringle's not even back. And they look like they have not missed a goddamn beat. That boy's the goddamn devil. That's the joke from Chappelle's show. By the way, 5 fumbles somehow in the course of this game and only lost one of them. No big deal. Jesus, man. Biggest concern, obviously, coming out of this one is, are the Cardinals' defense regressing? Because that is something that was a big problem for them before they started having problems with the consistency of their offense. Their defense would just basically play them out of games. And week 1 kind of makes it look that way a little bit. But they also might be playing against, and bear with me, I say this, and it may be real. It may be like a real thing. They may have just played against one of the best offenses in the history of the NFL. Only time will tell, but they're off to a good start. By the way, Travis Kelce's still very good at playing football. Even good against the guy who's supposed to be the ultimate tweener linebacker safety guy who's crazy fast. He still somehow found a way to get 5 yards worth of separation for a touchdown. Absurd. Giants-Titans. This is obviously in the oh my category because, one, Daniel Jones has probably just bought himself like another month of being Daniel Jones, beating the Titans 21-20. And something that we have pointed out on this show many a times has come back to represent itself for the Titans. Turns out A.J. Brown was a really good wide receiver, and what happens when you lose your number 1 wide receiver in A.J. Brown, and then you lose the guy who's supposed to be your number 2 wide receiver but only stuck around for 1 year in Julio Jones, you lose him, and you get Robert Woods, who's coming off of an ACL tear, literally was in camp with his ACL brace on, and I think played with it on based off the photos that I saw. Anyway, what do you get with that? One, you're going to get struggles. You're going to get struggles. That's just how it goes. Especially when, the number 1 wide receiver for your team was Kyle Phillips. No big deal. Kyle Phillips doing his thing. But yeah, Dontrell Hilliard with 2 of the touchdowns, receiving touchdowns for the Tennessee Titans. It's going to be tough for him because it felt like basically what I saw from it, outside of Saquon Barkley apparently being back for the first time in like 4 years, right? If you guys didn't hear about it, he's kind of He's kind of a big deal. He killed it in his first game back after being like 100% healthy from one of the nastiest ankle rolls I've ever seen. But that plus the Randy Bullock situation, Randy Bullock, Fat Randy. I personally don't like to call him Fat Randy, but he does choose the worst fitting jersey. And for a guy who is an NFL kicker, he can do better. He can do better. You can do better in terms of picking the clothes that you wear when you're on the field. Randy, you're a kicker. You can go out there with your jersey untucked and they will not say anything to you, but you choose to. Every single goddamn time. You choose to. You choose to do it. Anyway, the Titans also only converted 3 third downs in the course of this game, which you know is very bad. You know what's worse? Only converting 2, which is what the Giants did. This game was borderline on the snooze fest category, but because of the team that won, it ends up in the oh my category because, damn, to go from the number 1 seed in the or the number 1 seed overall in the NFL to losing to the Giants in week 1. Life comes at you fast, kids. Life comes at you fast. But it does sound like the wide receiver situation for the Titans wide open right now, especially considering the Giants didn't score a single point until the second half of the game. I'm sure that wasn't concerning at all. Or what was the other thing that was more concerning when the Titans didn't score in the fourth quarter? What do I know? Just a dude talking into a microphone. Other stuff in the oh my category, my Seattle Seahawks getting a 1-point win over the Denver Broncos, who basically like misplayed everything in the fourth quarter. I would also like to point out there's a couple of situations where they basically fumbled the bag. There was a goal line fumble. There was a catch that was like the toe box of a Nike cleat away from being a touchdown to help the Broncos win by like 3 touchdowns when it was all said and done. A good chunk of the Broncos offense looked a little choppy for the most part, but I will say the routes that were caught like on the run, they got the guys who can make that happen. Cortland Sutton didn't touch the ball into the second quarter. That's okay. That's okay, baby. We'll talk about another big-time wide receiver who didn't touch the ball until the fourth quarter. But yeah, Cortland Sutton didn't touch the ball until the second quarter of this game. The running back situation for the Broncos, up in the air. A lot of people had me very concerned because going into this game, yo, what up? First time chatter. Let's go. Il Gizmo Peep. What's up, man? We're just here talking about a little football. We're talking about Broncos Seahawks, if you care. If you got any hot takes or any questions you want to ask about what happened in week 1 in the NFL season, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. How about you, man? Il Gizmo Peep is in the chat, and he says, how are you, yo wee fuck? I'm 6 feet tall. I take offense to the wee part. Not a wee lad. Anyway, I'm kidding. Going back to what we were talking about before, Broncos Seahawks, a lot of what happened was the Broncos offense looked a little, oh wow. He hit me with, so this guy's from Glasgow. Shout out. We're a worldwide show. You're what, the 4th person from not America to hop into the chat? Shout out, man. What's up, Il Gizmo Peep? We're international around here. I appreciate that. How'd you find the stream, man? Please let me know. Please let me know if it was nobody.live. Anyway, what else was I saying? Oh no! Hold on. Sorry, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to read this comment out loud. Il Gizmo Peep says, bro, rugby is harder than football. And now you're going to get me on my ultimate rant. Okay, so it has nothing to do with what sport is tougher, but it does have a lot to do with, and you can tell me about this, Il Gizmo Peep. I don't know if you play rugby or not, but the former co-host of this show, my guy Martin Pape, can attest to this. There is something about rugby players that makes them obsessed with trying to convince everyone they play the tougher sport. Even though you don't get points for being tough. I love watching rugby highlights on Instagram. I just don't live in a country where like rugby's on TV. Shout out to the NRL, Houston Sabercats, going out there doing their thing. I'll tell you this much. Il Gizmo Peeps, by the way, love your spell of fucking, because he's doing the fucking thing. So he's doing Fookin. Anyway, Il Gizmo Peep says, us Scots don't wear fucking gear and shit. He also says we like getting injured. Trust me, there's plenty of injuries in the NFL, dog. As a matter of fact, many people would say, Il Gizmo Peep, that the gear that NFL football players, or just football players, American football players, man, you're out here living the dream, dog. I'll read it in a second. But many people would say that the gear that football players wear in America makes the sport more violent and makes you more likely to get injured because you don't operate under the pretense of like trying to protect yourself. So Il Gizmo Peep responded with drinking breakfast tonic wine, fella. That sounds lit. I don't know what that is. I drink a lot of whiskey, bro. But shout out to you in Glasgow. What's your rugby team? No, the fuck it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm tell you, as a person who's seen a lot of football players lower their head to hit somebody, I disagree. I don't think, I don't know how much NFL football you watch in comparison to how much rugby, but I can tell you right now, I don't watch enough. I don't have a good ratio of NFL football to rugby viewing to be able to counteract it. You know what I mean? Like, I know rugby's real tough. I see the kind of athletes that play rugby, like Christian Wilkins, used to play for the Buffalo Bills. I think he's back playing for France. You don't see a football player getting 7 broken bones in one. I don't know what that means, like the in one part, but I definitely have seen plenty of broken bones. Oh, Il Gizmo Peep with the hot take. He said the Raiders are a good team. That is a very hot take based off what happened. We are going to talk about them because they were part of one of the more interesting games that I enjoyed watching this week. But going back to the Broncos-Seahawks game, final score in that one, 17-16. But how does a guy from Scotland know about the Raiders? What do you know about the Raiders, Il Gizmo Peep? Please, tell me everything that you know. Who's your favorite player that's currently on the team? Broncos Seahawks. But yeah, the Seahawks basically went out there and didn't throw the game away. Saw a lot of the younger players really stepping up. We saw some good play. Well, we saw Mike Jackson, the guy who I mentioned in the preview for the NFL season, actually go out there and play really well overall. And I love it. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the epitome of what I talk about on this show all the time. Il Gizmo Peep just responded with how he knows the Raiders so much. He says, I play NFL on fucking PC, which means he plays Madden, because we all have to remember that there's, like, for instance, like, I know a good chunk about, like, soccer and FIFA soccer because of FIFA, and it looks like, you know, Il Gizmo Peep very much understanding how good the Raiders can be. I think they got a lot of potential. And he says he likes the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills as well. God damn. Hot takes. I feel like all three of those teams you listed are playoff caliber teams, but only time will tell. The 49ers looked all right versus the Bears, but it is the Bears, and that has me very concerned. The Bears are not, in theory, a good team right now. So I'll see what happens. But you got, like, any favorite players? Also, what's your rugby team you root for, man? I want to see these. I want to see what uniforms your guys wear. I'm always interested to see international uniforms because rugby, unlike every other sport in the world, is very pro horizontal stripes. Very pro horizontal stripes. Interesting. Seahawks 17, Broncos 16. Seahawks didn't throw the game away. The Broncos couldn't get their offense to click in enough time, which gives me the impression that they have a level that they haven't reached yet, which guess what, guys? Not surprising. The Broncos haven't reached their peak. It's week 1 of the season. Not surprising at all, but they do look like they got a lot of pieces together. Tom Brady needs to stop fucking retiring. You know, at some point he's going to do it he's going to do it one last time. Anyway, we'll see. That's the singing for the episode. But Russell Wilson, Broncos, clearly looked like they're a little disconjointed, which means there was a couple of things. People noticed how Nathaniel Hackett had a tough time getting in calls in enough time. They also noticed how late in the game it took them too long to figure out what they wanted to do, which is really weird to think about considering what do I do a podcast on? This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast, and I talk about sports. I try and make it as diverse as possible. Today's episode is solely about the NFL. Il Gizmo Peep. Shout out. By the way, Il Gizmo, if you're an NFL guy, hit that follow button. You know what I mean? Hit that follow button. But yeah, going back to what the Broncos' biggest issue was. They couldn't find the cohesion that they needed to take advantage of the fact that they were more talented. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The last 3 streams, we have gained a combined 6 followers. Welcome to being a broke boy, Il Gizmo P. Shout out to you, man, from Glasgow. What time is it there? Is it breakfast time or what? Or is it super late? And like I said, tell me what rugby team you root for. I want to look up their uniforms. Because I'm a titty lad. Oh, I'm assuming. Oh, so Il Gizmo Peeps said followed you because you're a titty lad. I'm assuming that's because I have man boobs. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Deadlift 405 for reps and got boobs. Oh, it's midnight there. Cool, man. So your night's just getting started. But yeah, that's really what it came down to. Like, the Seahawks played a more mistake-free brand of football. I will point this out, and this may be a little alarming for Seahawks fans. Okay, so timeout. Difference in understanding. He said no, tidy means chilled. Okay, so tidy means chilled. I thought he was talking about the titties. My bad, Hey, you do you. Whatever it takes for me to become famous. I'm just kidding. Not whatever it takes. But nonetheless, no, tidy means chilled. Okay, see, we're learning here. I'm learning. As a stupid American, I just learned something today. God damn. What do you know? You listen to the Brook Boy Sports Podcast enough, you learn a couple things. I appreciate that, man. I try and be chill. I try and have a good time. But yeah, Seahawks fans, they were getting some pressure. They were getting the one thing that they were not able to get last year. I don't know how consistent it's going to be, but they were getting that pressure on the Broncos. I appreciate that. I like to see it, because if they can get some semblance of pressure, it'll take a lot of pressure off the secondary, which has a lot of younger players in it, obviously. At some point, we all hope to see Kobe Bryant back out there on the field, but who knows? But yeah, that's all I got. That was all the games in the oh my category of the interesting outcomes. We won because nobody banked on the Seahawks winning. The heartbreakers category. The Falcons did all that work just to have a clown take it away from them. He said, look up Welsh National. By the way, the clown I was mentioning was Jameis Winston, a truly hilarious human being, and has done some sketchy things in his past, but I appreciate it. So he said, look up the Welsh National Rugby Team. Oh, man, my dude must have been super happy when he heard the news about the Queen. Sorry. I had to say it. Rugby Union, hold on. Oh, this is just the national uniform. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen these before. Red and white is a classic look. Red and white's always going to go. Especially when you got a dragon as your goddamn mascot. That's pretty good. You guys are 7s or a 15 squad? What's the deal? Which one are you better at? Anyway, while we continue to learn about Welsh National Rugby. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are happy the Queen died. But yeah, he said, hey, I fucking was, and I was clapping my hands and drinking a lager to her death. But yeah, bad thing about the monarchy, they've always got another one. They've always got another monarch to come up. Anyway, Saints, Falcons, like I said before, robbed by a clown. Somehow Jameis Winston did it again. And honestly, football gods, please listen in. Football gods, hear me now. Please let Jameis clown so hard this season. We need it. I need it. I deserve it. I deserve to watch Jameis do Jameis things at all times. And honestly, that's what this game was. It was like a tale of two halves, essentially. I'm going to her funeral, dude. 4 hours and 30-minute drive. Wait, is Wales not an island? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people at her funeral that are going to be a varying level of excitement about her death. Damn, he turning up. Oh, he trying to get there at 5 a.m. It is 12:38. Anyway, but yeah, Falcons 27-26. Don't drink and drive. Oh, Gizmo Pop. Don't drink and drive. 27-26. Saints get the dub. They mix in there. By the way, Michael Thomas is back. Okay, he's half Welsh, buddy. My bad. I didn't know. We're learning a lot about Il Gizmo Peep right now. Saints Falcons. Michael Thomas is back. Back doing the thing. Old slant boy is back. Turned up here, got 2 touchdowns, and Jameis seems to be kind of mixing it up a little bit so that it's not completely on Alvin Kamara to go out there and carry the squad, and you love to see it. Browns versus Panthers. This one was like really sad, mainly because the Panthers did not look good throughout the course of this game, but just like many teams in the NFL, the second half is a totally different story. Very few times does a team dominate a team first through fourth quarter, and this is one of those cases where, you know, the Browns were not scoring at enough offensive pace to keep the Cleveland Browns away. Or to keep the Panthers away, because like we said before, the second half was totally different. They outscored the Browns in the second half. They scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. The Browns scored 9 points in the second half. But they got off to a hot start, which, you know, kind of expected. Jacoby Brissett, by the way, mission accomplished. No. It's Welsh. Hold on. This is my link. Yeah. Welsh is, hold on. I've seen videos of people speaking Welsh. What does this mean? I appreciate it. So I'm what is it? Eisbag and Markul or something? It says you're cool, big boy. In English. That's cool. I appreciate it. I just had to make sure it wasn't something wild. I didn't want to declare war upon England by accident. But yeah, we're doing a lot today. Is that not how it's? Well, of course I'll never know. You know what? I'm going to paste it into my Google Translate, and then I'm going to listen to somebody say it. And I hope I'm, like, relatively close. I'm probably not even in the same stratosphere because a lot of Welsh is, like, putting it all together as if it's one word, right? Like a lot of it is like jamming it together. Panthers, Browns in this one. Shed a tear, pour out one for your boy Baker Mayfield. He did not get his sweet, sweet taste of revenge. It did come down to the Browns kicking a game-winning field goal, which is probably even more heartbreaking because Baker honestly, top to bottom, did not play well in this game. From everything that I watched, and they were still able to muster together a lot of success. CMC is back for however long. Limited time only. Limited run only is the best way to describe Christian McCaffrey and his success. Moving on. Commanders versus, by the way, like I said before, for Jacoby Brissett, mission accomplished. He got 1 win out of those 11 games that he's got to cover for Deshaun Watson, Massage Watson. Anyway, Commanders, Jaguars, 28-22. The Commanders came out here and pulled this one out of the jaws of defeat because the Jaguars had them down and beat, and the Jaguars couldn't come up with one more positive run. I would like to say I thought that I can already see the influence of not having Urban Meyer around on the Jags because they allowed James Robinson to go out there and get mad runs off, bro. They allowed James Robinson to go out there and do his thing and get a bunch of carries. He had the most carries out of all the Jaguars running backs, and I think that is the thing that needs to be maintained because there's very few times where James Robinson in his short amount of time of being a ridiculously good running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars has not had to worry about people coming up behind him. And I get it. It's the NFL. You're always worried about somebody coming up and usurping you or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, James had to power through this. James needs every opportunity to go out there and make plays happen because he is, in a lot of these cases for the Jaguars, he's their best option to make something happen and take pressure off Trevor Lawrence. That was the most important part. That is the one thing that I took away from this. And really, honestly, man, the Commanders got a really, really good amount of pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and he was still able to cook together a couple of plays here and there. But this is two bad. These are two, in theory, bad teams as of right now. But a lot of Eagles fans a little concerned. A lot of Eagles fans thinking that the Commanders could be the team to beat for them to get the NFC Beast. We'll find out. As we all know, the NFC East. It doesn't matter what happens in the regular. Whatever happens, it comes down to the Cowboys versus somebody to win the NFC East. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, guys. Cooper Rush. Colts versus Texans. The Texans technically won this game. The two most dominant forces in this game were, one, the Texans defense, which had a ton of pressure generated on Matt Ryan. They were able to hold the Colts to 3 points until the fourth quarter of this game. They got a fumble, they got an interception, they got 3 sacks from Jerry Hughes, and then the other domineering, near unstoppable force, 161 yards, is 100% Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, not surprising. Let's see what our guy Il Gizmo Peep says. He says, Welsh is the hardest fucking language in the world. I would believe it, based off what I've seen spoken of it. Ask Biden, how was the trip upstairs? I have no idea. I don't know if you noticed tonight. He's not really, I think he's a little busy. A little busy. Especially this year, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, bodied the Houston Texans and their defenders. Pretty much they ran like halfback dive out of shotgun, and the offensive line was able to get so much space up front. And before I think he only had like 40-something yards after contact, and the rest of it was before contact. Like, legit. It was insane. A lot of the times, they would be on 1st and 10, especially in the second half. They would give him the ball. He would run up the middle. He would get hit like 7 yards before the first down marker, and then 3 dudes would hit him all at one time. Good to see the pursuit from the Texans. Just needed to be 5 yards sooner. Just want to point out the reason the Colts failed on so many drives in the course of this game. In most cases, it was because this is how it would go. They would get 2 really good runs from Jonathan Taylor, and then think to themselves, you know what we need to do? You know what we have to do? Even though Jonathan Taylor's been really successful the last 2 times we handed him the ball off, we should pass the ball. We should do that. And then Matt Ryan does something bad. There was a couple times Matt Ryan fumbled a shotgun snap. There was a couple times where Matt Ryan threw the ball too low. He was semi-inaccurate. And, to his credit, that did not stop happening until the fourth quarter. And basically nobody outside of Michael Pittman Jr. really wanted to play wide receiver that day. I will say that. The second leading wide receiver for the Colts was Ashton Doolin. And giving a bad name to Ashtons everywhere. I'm just kidding. He out there representing. The only other Ashton that I knew that was in the NFL was Ashton Yabuti. I'm dead serious. That's what the guy's name was. He played for the Washington R-Words back when they were the Washington R-Words. Ashton Doolin, who had 3 catches for 46 yards. The Texans had one major mistake in this game, and it basically snowballed and quicksand out of control. Like, one mistake led to another one, and it got the Colts back into it, and it was a fumble in the third quarter. Dead serious. That's what it really came down to. A lot of these times, Davis Mills, one, he had some dimes in the course of this game, but there was also a good chunk of times where, he was trying to force it into really tight windows, and that, of course, is going to work its way out as time goes on. But it looks like Davis Mills has improved as a quarterback. And I'm forced to believe, based off what I know about the Colts defense, they're pretty damn good at this. They got a ton of pressure on Davis Mills, and of course he didn't escape very many of those times. But nonetheless, the throws down the field were pretty good. He got out of this game without having a single turnover, which is something that was few and far between last season. I would also like to mention a huge historical event that happened for a huge historical event that happened for the Texans. And I'm just going to read it verbatim from the source so you can understand it. This is from the Surrender Index. If you guys, it's actually from Surrender 90. The Twitter account that only tweets about Surrender Index things that happen in the 90th percentile. Houston decided to punt to Indianapolis from the Indianapolis 49 on 4th and 3. This is what happened in the overtime period of this game after the Colts had completely come back. With 20 seconds remaining on the overtime clock, while tied 20-20 with a surrender index of 72.12, this punt ranks at the 100th percentile of cowardly punts in the 2022 season and the 99.6th percentile of punts since 1999. If you do not understand what that means, the Surrender Index is a Twitter account that specifically calculates how cowardly of a punt any team executes throughout the course of a game, in terms of wow, it's 4th and 1 and we're in their territory, we're going to punt the ball away. were in their 49-yard line. And the reason that this is so cowardly is, one, the score's tied 20-20. It's overtime, and any form of points wins. It's 20 seconds remaining, and you're in Indianapolis territory on a 4th and 3 in a game that is tied, right? The surrender index is, legendary. Legendary. Great Twitter follow. Last category here. This is what we're here for. It is the category that had the most fun games from Sunday. Steelers versus Bengals, although I will say it was not fun watching Joe Burrow miss wide receivers left and right. It was not fun watching Higgins? T. Higgins. I don't know why I said Tyler Higgins. I was thinking Tyler Higbee, who's the tight end for the Rams, and then I was like, Tyler Boyd. Anyway, that's how it's been a long day. It's been a long 2 days in the dungeon watching all these games. Steelers-Bengals, though. Clutch, bro. Joe Burrow made this one exciting. 4 interceptions in the course of this one. And like we read off before, all the crazy things that the Steelers defense was able to pull off on the Bengals' revamped offensive line. Not a great start to the season. Also not great that they are, as you know, the division rival for the Bengals, right? Like the Steelers and the Bengals, division rivals. So they're automatically going to play each other a lot closer. This one was embarrassing for the Steelers, more so than the Bengals. The Bengals came back and forced overtime in this game to lose by a field goal because they missed the game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter, which would have been the most embarrassing thing for them because they generated 6 turnovers in the course of this game and got 23 points after taking half the possessions that the Bengals had in the course of this game away. The Eagles and the Lions duke it out with each other. I think our guy Il Gizmo left. Il Gizmo Peep left. Shout out to him in Glasgow, Wales. Wow, man, what a day! What a day. Eagles Lions. This one was a lot of fun. I actually talked about it before the show started, but I'll revamp it again. So Eagles Lions. Ton of points put on the board. Offense really caught stride in the back half of the game, especially considering the Lions weren't really responding offensively throughout the course of it, but most of the response from the Eagles was via their run. The first half of the game was great for the Eagles defense, which has high expectations placed upon it, not only because of the defensive stuff that's going on. One, I will point this out, Darius Slay dropped an interception that probably would have changed this game drastically. But anyway, neither here nor there. Big play Slay. Anyway, 38-35 was the final score in this one. The resilience of the Lions comes to bear its ugly head again. Good to see Jared Goff looking like a quarterback and not being the sucker that we all thought he was for being the dude that the Rams traded away when they were trying to make a run for the Super Bowl, right? Clearly showing that he has the capabilities of being a starter in the NFL, even when he's on a team that has less talent than his opponent, which makes you think that maybe, just maybe. No. It's week 1. It's too early. But maybe. Eagles. In this one, run dependent, run heavy. A.J. Brown was legitimately the only person other than Dallas Goedert caught a pass. But he caught all the passes, caught all of them. A.J. Brown looked like A.J. Brown just in an Eagles uniform, which is dope. You don't see that easy transition happen like that all the time, and he bodied all of the corners that the Lions were willing to put in front of him. Other game that was ridiculously fun, Chargers-Raiders, super low scoring, 24-19 was the final score in this one. But the fact of the matter is, there was a couple of absolutely absurd things that happened in the course of this game, and I wrote them down, so hold on a second while I look them up. The Chargers' first touchdown of the season, the Chargers' super high-powered offense, the team that had the most split outs in terms of wide receivers and tight ends formations. They were top 3 in the maximizing of the number of offensive pass catchers you can have on any given play out there on the field at any time. Their first touchdown was to their fullback, a rookie fullback who had, I think, 3 touchdowns in his 4 years in college, and his first drive as an NFL player got a touchdown from Justin Herbert. So there's that. Khalil Mack murdered their right tackle off of a bull rush that turned into a sack. He did the rare tackle sack, where he used the tackle that he was beating in a pass rush matchup to sack Derek Carr and in the play. That was pretty absurd. The Chargers' final drive of the half was carried by DeAndre Carter, who we mentioned earlier in the game. DeAndre Carter has gotten like 3 touchdowns in the course of his 6 years in the NFL, and he's already got 1 in his first drive as a Charger this season. So he carried on that drive. He had 64 yards receiving and 1 touchdown in a single drive. Crazy stuff. He had multiple catches. I think it was 3 catches in total. Raiders' opening drive of the second half, they had a touchdown pass to Brandon Bolden. Before that, there was a 41-yard pass to Davante Adams. And this is my favorite one. This is the peak one. This kind of epitomizes this game a little bit. The Raiders ran a double reverse. They ran the ball with Brandon Bolden to the left-hand side, and then he handed the ball over to Davante Adams. That made Derek Carr the lead rusher on the play, and I can't tell you, as a guy who really thinks that offense has like way too much going for them via the rules and the way the game is officiated, I can't tell you how much I love it when there's a simple solution for a very complex play. So there's a double reverse going on. Derek Carr's kind of like semi-blocking, and you know what Joey Bosa did in this play? So Davante Adams is coming from left to right. Joey's rushing from the right-hand side. And instead of like looking up for where the ball was at or whatever, he just kept driving his tackle and Derek Carr backwards. And they tripped up Davante Adams. And then Joey Bosa jumped on Davante Adams and tackled him for like a 15-yard loss. His solution for beating like a play that they clearly have worked on for quite some time, and a play that Davante Adams thought he was going to he thought he was going to shake loose on, his solution was to just like run through. I'm going to bull rush tackle men with ball. I love it. I love it. This game was a ton of fun. If you have a chance to go rewatch it, you should. Justin Herbert looked really good. Derek Carr had some moments where clearly his wide receivers were making up for inaccurate passes, but before that, he also had some crazy dimes. He had like one drive where it was like third and he had one where the drive started. The drive started with Josh Jacobs missing a cut block on Derwin James, and then Derwin James just jumped on Derek Carr, right? And he took. Oh, by the way, in the course of missing that cut block, Josh Jacobs cut out his left tackle's legs from behind, trying to cut block Derwin James. So not great. Instead of taking out the defender, you took out the only person stopping and saving Derek Carr's life. Anyway, 3rd and 16 rolls around. He throws to Davante Adams. By the way, they was slinging that thing to 17 that whole game. He threw a dime to Mac Hollins, formerly of the Miami Dolphins. If you're an anime fan, Mac Hollins is your guy. He dressed up like anime characters when he was with the Dolphins, and he showed up as Afro Luffy one time, which is really funny if you're a One Piece fan. But he also had a dime to Davante Adams to get into the red zone, and then he missed a wide open Darren Waller on an out route. Like the DB was like 3-4 yards behind him, and Derek Carr threw it to the inside of Darren Waller, so he had to like stop, turn around, and try and catch a ball that would have been intercepted if Darren Waller had not tried to put a hand on it. And there was a couple of plays like that where he took the common sense throw, and then he made up for it later on, because the touchdown that got them within 5 points that they subsequently failed on the 2-point conversion afterwards, which kind of ended the game. He threw it to Davante Adams, and he threw it as wide as he possibly could, so that only Davante Adams can catch it, which is something you would think Derek Carr, a really good quarterback in the NFL, he wouldn't need a reminder to do that, but he did, and that's okay. That's okay. That game was a ton of fun. The result was really steered by the Chargers defense, surprisingly enough. Kenneth Murray all over the place. Asante Samuel Jr. was diced up multiple times by Davante Adams, but he kept sticking with it. He got a huge deflection on a 3rd and 15 where the ball was on a comeback route, I think, to Davante Adams. He swatted it down, and then a couple plays later, he eventually gave up that touchdown that would get them within 5 points. But before that, he pulled off an interception on a ball intended for Davante Adams that he was able to run back a couple of yards. And it's good to see, because Asante Samuel Jr., obviously related to Hall of Fame defensive back Asante Samuel, a lot of pressure is on him every single time he goes out there on the field, and it was good to see him go out there, not only survive his matchup with Davante Adams, but come out there and get a couple licks in himself. You know what I mean? Buccaneers Cowboys. This one was fun to watch because it was like the Buccaneers were just warming up for the season. The Buccaneers, whose starting quarterback missed like 2 weeks of training camp. who had their running back come in, quote unquote, overweight, absolutely bodied the Cowboys. And it got even worse because in a game that they were losing badly, Dak Prescott is out for 2 months. They say 6 to 8 weeks, and if you're a real fan, you know you go with the longest timeline possible so you don't feel bad when he don't come back in 6 weeks. So he's not going to IR, so he'll be as soon as he's healthy, he'll be available to play. Hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake that Russell Wilson did and come back early, because he does have a fracture in his thumb to the point where he needed surgery to have it repaired. I'm assuming they had to put a pen in his hand, and Jesus, man, if there's one thing about Dak Prescott you can say, that dude is tough. He's had a lot of things go horribly wrong for him, and he keeps on swinging. But, yeah, Cowboys, tough start to the season. Don't think it's going to define them. The battle for the starting running back spot is fully on. Ezekiel Elliott, of course, in a big decisive year for him. A lot of people speculating if this season goes south, even if he probably does well, the team doesn't do well, they're probably going to get rid of him. We'll see. Only time will tell, my friends. Shout out to everybody who hopped in on Twitch, man. I mean, talk about a drastic change of events. We had one person, Alex Derkline, who hopped on, and then we also had Il Gizmo Peep hop in, and somebody's been watching the entirety of this stream and hasn't written in. So, yeah, shout out to whoever that is, and I'm out. Let me see something. We didn't skip a single frame today. Look at that. Look at us. Right? Anyway, hit me up on Twitter at FB_playbook. Hit me up on Instagram at TheAshtonForever. You still got time to see Sunday shots. I'm going to try and get the image of the week up by the end of tonight. We'll see what happens. It's hard being a quote-unquote content creator. We'll get on it. I'm finally done watching all of NFL Week 1's games because I was out of town, and I got to watch Red Zone, which I don't typically watch. I'm a actual watch it live in person kind of guy, and I got to watch it with a dear friend of mine who I haven't seen in a couple of years. When I went up to Dallas, shout out to Dallas. You guys know I hate Dallas, but my new teammates are up there, so I have to pretend to like it for the foreseeable future. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I feel like we got out of here pretty quick. We got 3 minutes until it's a 90-minute show, and I'm trying to keep it that way. Trying to keep it tight. Keep it tight. Anyway, that being said, shout out to everybody who checked it out. Checked out this episodes in the future. Don't forget, we're simulcasting on Twitch and on YouTube. Just type in Broke Boy Sports on both of those platforms. You should be able to find me. And if you are interested in following my burner account on Instagram, it's The Mood of Sports. Follow me on Twitter at TheAshtonJ, and then also at FB_playbook. I'm about to go hoop it up. I'm out of here. Stay safe. Drink your water, folks. Just because the seasons are changing and it's getting cooler outside doesn't mean you're not dehydrated. Drink your water, bro. Wash your hands, wash your ass, and go home, Roger.